Okay, good morning. We're on to Mama with Jarvis, and we're still on our BECE series for Rivers State. Like I said in my previous video, we will not be too technical, as it were. May not be a very tech video in terms of the work, but the essential thing here is that we want to pass knowledge across. So we're looking at 2013 theory. And the first question we have there says, number one there says, a trader opens a bank account with what? 25,000 naira. In 1 month, she pays out 2 checks for what? 4,900 and what? 3,400, and pays in 1 check of 1,400. How much money does she have in her account after 1 month? Now the question is very straightforward, and we're going to read it again so you can get a clear perspective to the question. The question essentially is testing your knowledge of addition and subtraction. That's what it's testing. A trader opens a bank account with 25,000 naira. In 1 month, she pays out. Now, to pay out means to take away from what you have. So she pays out 2 checks. One of the check is what? 4,900. The other check is what? 3,400. And pays in 1 check, that's addition, bringing money to the account of 1,400. How much money does she have in her account after 1 month? So it's a very simple question, and I'm going to be taking you to a very simple approach for solving the question. Now, you will start by saying amount paid in, that's will be 25,000 naira. We'll keep the naira sign on top. Then check paid out. Check what? Paid out. That was what? The first one was 4,900. Then another one was what? 2,000, 3,400. Am I right with that? So what I'm going to do is to add these two. I see that I'm going to add these two, and that will give me 0, 0, 3, and this will give me what? 8, if I got the maths right. So this is amount paid in, this is check paid out. So amount left will now be what? 25,000 minus 8,300. So what I'm trying to do, I'm taking it stepwise. So this will be 0, this will be 0. Now this is 0, so I need to take 1 from here, and that will give me what? 10 here, and that will be 7. I need to take 1 from here because 4 cannot technically 4 minus 8 in this setup is not realistic or realizable. So I'll take 1 from here, and it becomes 14, and I'll have 6, and I'll have 16,700. But that's not the end of the question. You are not told that she paid in, so check paid in will now be what? 1,400. So this will now be amount now in account will now be what? So it's your business studies knowledge that you are applying here. 0, 1, this will be addition, and then this will be what? 8, and that will be 1. So amount in account will simply be what? 18,100. And that solves that question for that. It's nothing more than that. Okay, for question 2, the question says we should make R the subject of the formula. So here again, we are testing our knowledge of change of subject of formula. And this is one question I can place my money on every year. It's something that would always come out. V equal to pi r squared. The first thing you need to do here is this. The rule for change of subject or formula is that the subject must be on the left hand side. So you need to rewrite this. That's the first thing you need to do, rewrite this. And that will give you pi r squared h equal to v. Now, the next thing you will do here, you discover that there are three items here, pi, r squared, and h. If we have identified r squared as the subject, then in our mind I, pi, and h are things we do not need. But what are they there? They're more like coefficients or more like letters multiplying r squared. They are numerators. So what do? We divide both sides by what we do not need. I don't need pi h. So I'll divide both sides by what? Pi h. So this h will cancel this h. This pi will cancel this pi. And I'm left with r squared equal to v over pi h. The next thing you do is this. What is this? Square, is that not? In English language, if you've seen my grade 10 video on this matter, in English language, there's something we call synonyms and antonyms. Antonyms are words that are opposite of certain words. For instance, if I say beautiful, obviously it has to be antonym of ugly. Good. So I have, what's the antonym of a square? The antonym of a square is square roots. The antonym of cube is cube roots, and vice versa. So instead of stressing, the beautiful thing about modern maths is this: you don't need to stress your brain to remember too much. Very simple. This is squared. All you need to do is to know how to write square root. Square root looks like this. So what I do is this. If this travels to your village, what happens is that its identity will change. If it were a king in your village, you will become a servant in my village. So what happens simply will be what? R equal to the square root of v over pi h. But take note of something. When you transfer square, you are writing the antonym, but it will affect everything on the other side. That's something you must remember. It's like casting a spell. The spell does not select. It will go and affect everything on the other side. So that's what is actually happening here. So the square becomes a square root and will affect everything, just like our coronavirus. Does not select people. It will go and affect everybody. That's what is happening here. See that everything happening around us is mathematics. That's why you have to know it. Alright. Okay, so that's for 1b, and then we'll go to the next question right away. In question 2, we have y equal to 3x plus 1. This is what is called a linear equation. A linear equation. Now, we are given values of x in a tabular form, and we are required to look for the values of what? Y. Here, we are testing your knowledge of what? Substitution. So, we'll just go straight away to solve this. Now, when x is equal to minus 3, what will y be? To be what? Y equal to what? 3 into negative 3 plus 1. I always advise students, don't be in a worry. I know there are students who can just look at it and write the answer, look at it and write the answer. Fine and good. But remember that this is theory. We expect to see some workings. A student can write this and write the final answer. Well, that's good. It means that student is smart. But please, we need to see what you are doing. So when y equal to this, it means that what? This will be what? Negative 9 plus 1. And what would that be? Negative 8. So in your table, because this is what you're going to do, you transfer this answer here, put negative 8 here. You have done that. Now, the next thing you do, when x is equal to negative 2, what do you do next? it means that y will be equal to 3 into negative 2 plus 1. Please, if you're having issues with your negative and positive multiplication, do it gradually. Don't rush. This will be negative 6 plus 1, which will be what? Negative 5. So we've gotten 2 answers. So the next thing you want to do is to come to this point and put your negative 5. You go to the next one. You have when x is equal to negative 1. What do you have? Y will now be equal to what? 3 into negative 1 plus 1. That will give you negative 3 plus 1. And what would that answer be? Negative 2. Is that not? Now, I'm going to give you a little trick here. A smart student would have gotten a pattern. Now, some time ago, I think that was like 4 or 5 years ago, I was privileged to take a child. I think he will be taking his checkpoint exam by now. Okay, I've done his checkpoint actually. And I learned a very interesting trick. The concept of graph remains the easiest way to teach sequence. I was surprised when I saw it. That's one of the things we teach in graph, plotting graph or whatever. If you understand sequences very well, you'll be able to handle them from checkpoints. So if you're something that allows you the time, also try to use some of these books. Checkpoint for book 1, 2, 3, JS3. They are very, very good in passing this idea. A smart student would have seen a pattern. I added 3 here, I got this. I added 3 here, I got this. So I'm going to make an assumption and we're going to verify if my answer is correct. Because sometimes you have to, some of these exams are IQ. You need to be fast. Okay, I've done the first, I've done the second one. I'm seeing the pattern. Okay, I have 3. Because it's the same principle as sequence. And in the exam, you'll be marked correct because you have been able to establish a pattern from the first 2 you have done. Now, this is minus 3. I add 3 to it, I'll get 1. I add 3 to it, I'll get 4. I add 3 to it, I'll get 7. Now, let's verify what I've done is correct. Now, I've taught us that in any exam setup, your first assignment is to project the answer. A famous example remains the Mystic character, or that Nightcrawler of the X-Men franchise. I can't be in a place I have not pictured in my mind. So these are principles you apply in the exam environment. You should have a fair knowledge of what the answer should look like. And then also look out as you solve. Be attentive to the details as you see them. Alright? So this will now be what? When we are testing x equal to 0. What do we have? Y equal to 3 into 0 plus 1. Please watch this. Don't waste the examiner's time and tell him 0 plus. We know it is 0. So just come here and tell us y is equal to 1. There are things you need to know in an exam. There are things you do that are wasting of time. And you must avoid them. So when the student complains that there's not enough time in the exam, check very well. Check very well. Maybe you're doing what you want not to do. Alright, so then we go to when x is equal to 1. What do you have? You have y equal to 3 into 1 plus 1. This will be 3 plus 1, and that will be 4. So you see that we are correct. You can bank your money on this one. And go to the next one when x is equal to 2. Y will be equal to what? 3 into 2 plus 1. And that means that y will be equal to 6 plus 1. Y eventually becomes what? 7. Are you seeing it? This is a miracle of mathematics. You see it? So why are you complaining? This exam, somebody from just doing these 3 I projected what these ones will be. And he has finished the question and has got to another question. Alright, we'll continue with the next one. Okay, the question on the board, question 3, says that in a class test in mathematics, the score of 20 students, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Of 20 students are given, as we've seen on the board, and we are to represent the above in a tally table. So what's a tally table? Essentially, a tally table is what is prepared before you make what is called your frequency table. So a tally table is what is prepared first before you prepare what is called a frequency table. Right? So how does it go? It starts by drawing this out. Here will be the score, here will be the tally, and here will be the frequency. In fact, frequency and tally are the same thing. It's just that you represent tally by strokes and frequency with what? Numbers. That's just the difference. So, the next thing you want to do is to identify the scores. What's the lowest score here? It is 3. And the highest score is what? 9. So what you do is to list them out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's what you do. The next thing you do is to strike out. Whatever strikeout you make here, you represent that with a stick here, which is your tally. You strike out and you present with a stick here. What's this number here? It's 8. So as I strike off 8, I drop a stick here. 9, I drop a stick. 8, I drop a stick. 7, I drop a stick. 4, I drop a stick. 3, I drop a stick. 5, I drop a stick. 6, I drop a stick. 8, I drop a stick. 3, I drop a stick. 6, I drop a stick. 8, I drop another one. 8 again. Now, the system of tally is to count in 5s. So I drop a stick across, telling me that I have a complete set. In fact, if you understand the concept of tally, it's an what the Marvel called Easter egg to the thought on number base. That's it. Counting in 5s. So you see that these things are there, just whether you're paying attention to them. Right? So the next one, I drop a stick for 7, I drop another for 7, I drop another for 5, I drop one for 5 rather, 1 for 9, 1 for 6, 1 for 6, 1 for 8, and then 1 for 7. The next thing you do is to verify. So if I were you, I'll fill up the frequency part. 2, 1, 2, 2 strokes 2, 1 stroke 1, 2 strokes 2, 3 strokes 3, 4 strokes 4, 5 strokes, 6 strokes 6, and then 2. It doesn't end there. Confirm whether the total corresponds with what you were told in the initial part of the question. 3, 5, 8, 12, 18, 20, and that is correct. Now, I also know that there are students who don't use my method. Some students will rather pick particular numbers. They could say, okay, I pick 3, and then I check for everywhere that there's 3, cancel out. Good. I am one of those instructors that don't force you to use my method. But when I use a method, always understand that sometimes I have experience. There are certain things I can see that you may not see. This method, I prefer this method because it enables you to think randomly. A very smart student should be able to think randomly. I don't think modern students can handle randomness. So you should be able to handle randomness. You must consciously train yourself. And that has made me, even when I teach algebra now, I don't allow students to say you arrange terms. No, I tell you pick the terms randomly. Why? Because it's an essential aspect of developing your brain. So if you choose to use the other pattern, feel free, no problem. No one is going to penalize you. But most importantly, the objective is for you to get the correct answer. Alright, so we're done with that. Now the next question says find the mode. So this will be Roman figure 1. And then Roman figure 2 requires that we should find the mode. So what is the mode? The mode is the number or the score that occurs the most or occurred the most. So if you look at this, where do you have the highest frequency? You discover that the highest frequency we have is what? 6. What score corresponds to that frequency of 6? It is what? 8. So the mode in this question becomes what? 8. Right? In Roman figure 2 or 3 rather, we are told to look for the median. What is the median? The median is the score that occur at the mid position of the distribution. So in your grade 7 or your JS3, you'd have been taught something we call rank or ranking. To rank is to arrange numbers from either ascending order or what? Descending order. By ascending we mean start from the lowest, climb to the highest. By descending we mean start from the highest and go to the lowest. So let's look at the scores we have. This is what we have. Please be watchful here. You've done this. There's a reason you have done this. So if we want to look for the median, we must look for what is called the position of the median. So position of the median will be equal to n plus 1 over 2, where n is the total frequency. So the total frequency here is straightforward, it's 20. That tells you the number of students that took the test. So when they tell you the number of students that took the test, that's the total what? Frequency. So it will be what? 20 plus 1 divided by 2. And that will be 21 divided by 2, which is 10.5. That's the position of the median. Now, the next thing now, it is the position of the median that tells you where the median is. Because it is the position of the median that's where we have the median to occur. So, how do you now look for the median? You come to this thing you have done. Don't waste your time to begin to rearrange this. No, you've already arranged it here. Maybe you were not realizing that. What is this? 2 plus 1 plus 2, 5 plus 3, 8. Is that not? Plus 4, 12. I got 8 here. Is that not? I got 8 here. I got what? 12 here. What's the position of the median? 10.5. It means the median I'm looking for is inside here. So if it's inside here, there are 4 numbers within what? 9th position. Because this is first or second position. I see it. 3rd position. 4th and 5th. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. Do you understand? So I'm looking for the 10.5 of 5th position. Is inside here. So the median becomes what? 7. And that is it. Wow. So the median will now be equal to what? 7. Hope I'm right with that. 7. So you have done that. That's the median. Median becomes what? 7. Now, the last question there says, what is the mean? So let's try to do that now. Okay, the last question there, which happened to be Roman figure 4, ought to be Roman figure 4, require us to look for the mean. The mean. What is mean? Mean is simply what? Sum over what? Frequency. So, in math, we attribute x to the score. We attribute the letter f to the frequency. Then we create another table we call fx. Fx means multiply whatever you have here with whatever you have here and put the answer here. So I'll write the frequency here. This is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and what? 2. So down here, I will introduce what I call sigma. Sigma is like this. It's called sigma, meaning sum. So sigma f means the sum of the frequencies. So I'm going to put sigma here. And we're told that the number of scores there are what? 20. So I'll put sigma f to be what? 20. Now, what is 3 times 2? 6. Remember I said that fx means multiply these two. I'll put it here. Multiply these two, you have 4. Multiply these two, you have 10. Multiply these two, you have 18. Multiply these two, you have 28. Multiply these two, you have 48. Multiply these two, you have what? 18. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Are we together?
Yes.
Alright, so the next thing you do is to do what I call, I'll put a bit of space here, sigma fx. Because this is fx, so I'm summing everything here. So how do you do this? You need to do what? Sum it. Now, there are different ways you can sum. You can take it gradually. Like me, I like to take it gradually. 6 plus 4 is what? 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. Now, once I get to 20, I switch off to old school method. This is 20. I bring in what? 18. And that will give me 38. I've seen that in some of your books. I bring in what? 28. That will give me what? 64 or 66 rather. Now, I'll add 48. So that will be 66 plus 48. That will give me 114. And then I add finally 18 to that. 114 with what? 18. And that will give me 132. Is that not? So I have 132 here. So the next thing I do is to say mean will be equal to sigma f of x over sigma f. Sigma f of x over sigma f. Now, you may not even write that in the exam. You may not write this. You can just say mean equal to, what have you gotten here? You may never write this one. Nobody will penalize you. Because it's implied that whatever you put here is what? Sum. Are you listening? So the next one will now be 132 divided by 20. Here is where you have to be careful when you divide. Some of you will now divide with 4. No, it's not a wise route to take. Divide with 2, you get 10 here. Divide with 2, you get 66. Move decimal place, you have 6.6. So you see that the reason you are learning is to know what to do. You need to know what to do. There is no mechanical method that this is how you must always solve it. No. That's why you have a processor. You try to look at the question. What's the best approach to this question? Once you settle that, you go ahead. But if in the exam you remember that you have to divide by that, you go with the other method, please go do that. It may take you more time, but at the end of the day, you will still get the same answer. But I would advise to thinking, add smart thinking. Okay, so we go to question number 4. In question number 4, there are 2 questions there. Question 4a and 4b. So let's see what 4a has to us. Or has for us rather. The circumference of a circle. Now look at this. The circumference of a circle is 88 centimeters. What is the radius? Now, we expect that every student should know that the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r or pi d. But pi d, not pi r, pi d. Because diameter is what? 2 times radius. But like I've told us, you have your 4-figure table. You can check. Don't stress yourself. It's possible you forgot it. So go to your 4-figure table and check. Part of what we'll be doing in the next class is to take the 4-figure table page by page to show you some of those things you need to remember. They are in the 4-figure table. Just look at it and get to your work. So circumference. So I'll start by saying circumference is equal to 88 centimeters. Notice that I did not bother talking about circumference of a circle because the word circumference in itself is used to describe the distance around the circle. Now, I also know that the circumference C is equal to 2 pi r. Here, if you watch again, this is a stylish way of testing your knowledge of change of subject of formulas. So let's look at that. So I will come here I'm going to use a different approach to solve this now. So watch carefully. I'm going to use a very different approach to solve this. The circumference I'm told is what? 88. What is pi? 22 over 7. So this will be 2 times 22 over 7 times what? R. Is that not? So watch. Now, 4 or 2 go here, I'll get what? 44. 2 here, I'll get 1. 2 again here, I'll get what? 22. 2 again, I'll get what? 11. Is that not? So I want to make my work a little neat. So I'll do this. And then I divide both sides by what? Is that not? So what I'm going to have is 2 equal to r over 7. Is that not? Yes. So if I rewrite it, this will be r equal to what? R over 7 equal to what? 2. So r will now be equal to what? 2 times 7. And what is the radius? 14 centimeters. That's what. So you see that question is so cheap. So cheap. In question 4b, we are told that after spending 2/3 of his money, a student had 300 naira left. Please follow this one. This one is a very sensitive question. After spending 2/5 of his money, a student had what? 300 naira left with him. What was the total number or total money he had in his pocket originally? Now, this is one question. In fact, this is actually JS1 work. Fractions. What problems in fractions? It's JS1 because I've done video tutorials on this. 2/5 of the money he has spent, and what he has left is what? 300. Okay, so let's try to look at that. Now, when you consider anything in a fraction, the start-off point is always 1. It's always what? 1. If I have money in my pocket, what I have originally is always what? 1. Now, what I've spent out of it represents a fraction of it. Now, you're told that the student has spent what? 2/5 and had 300 naira left. The question now is, what fraction is left? Because if you know the fraction that is left, that fraction that is left is tied to the amount that is left. It's like looking at direct proportion, which is something you study in your JS3. So let's marry what you are supposed to have learned in grade 7 with grade 8, and let's see if you can get an answer to that. Now, fraction spent will be 2 over 5. So fraction left will be 1 minus 2 over 5. 1 minus 2 over 5, and that will give you what? So let's take the LCM thing because some of us still find it difficult to understand. So let's do 1 over 1 minus 2 over 5 just to help us, and that will be LCM of 5, and that becomes 5 minus what? 2. 5 divided 1 is 5 times 1, that's 5. 5 divided 5 is 1 times 2, which will be 2. So this becomes 3 over 5. It therefore means that fraction left corresponds to what? Or correspond to what? Amount left. There's a relation between fraction left with amount left. Now also, original fraction will be equivalent to what? Amount let's use the term they have there. The term they used there was amount originally. So what does that mean? It means that 3 over 5 will correspond to 300 naira. So what will then 1? Because we said that the amount the person is having corresponds to 1. That's a fraction cannot be greater than 1. You would have seen that play out in probability. That's an extension of this idea, moving to probability. So 1 will be equivalent to this amount which we do not know. Now, if 3 over 5 is this, 1 is this. I hope you also know that this 1 means 5 over 5, primary 3 or so. 1 means 5 over 5. Relating this 1 with respect to this fraction. 1 means 5 of 1 over 5. So if 3 portions is giving me this, it means that 5 portions will simply give me what? X equal to what? 500. And that is as simple as that. 3 portions is 300. What will 1 portion be? Divide this by 3. And that will give you what? 100. So if 1 over 5 is 100, what will 5 over 5 be? 1. That will be what? 5 times what? 100. And that will give you what? 500. Number 5, please. Number 5 is testing our knowledge of simultaneous equation. And this is one area you will do well in. I'm very sure of it. Now, we use the elimination method. And very clearly we see that there is y here and there is y here. So we can easily eliminate what? Y. This is negative, this is what? Positive. So you add up. That will give you 3x equal to 9. Divide both sides by 3 and x is equal to what? 3. So you put x equal to 3 in anyone. X minus y equal to 2. And that will be what? 3 minus y equal to what? 2. Is that not? So that will be minus y equal to 2 minus what? 3. Am I right with that? So that will mean that negative y will be equal to negative 1. Y is equal to 1. Now if you notice what I have done, I have bent the rule a little. I have not cancelled with negative. In fact, it's absurd for you to do that. But there is a simple understanding you can use. If your bad side is equal to another person's bad side, it would mean that your good side will be equal to another person's good side. That's what we have applied here. Very simple. So that settles that, and we will be closing out for our class today, trusting that we will get back to more MAMU experience in BECE for Rivers State. So thank you very much for your time, and God bless.